The galaxy asked one question for centuries: how could anyone invade a Class 15 death world? No one had an answer. Class 15 was the highest level of danger known to alien science. A death world was not just a place of storms and beasts. It was a world where everything tried to kill you. The air could choke you, the land could burn you, the animals could tear you apart. Most alien races lived on calm, safe planets with little danger. They looked at death worlds with fear, and when they saw Earth's ranking Class 15 they called it impossible. No one could live there. No one should survive there. And yet, humanity did. Dr. Michael Carter never thought he would discover the truth. He was a simple man, a historian working at a quiet university in Chicago. His life was books, old records, and dusty archives. But Michael always had questions. Why did alien archives mention Earth in whispers? Why were there missing years in human history, erased from every database? It started one night when he stayed late at the university library. The building was empty, the only light coming from the glow of his computer screen. He was searching old files from the early 21st century. Most records were boring politics, wars, weather reports. But then he found something strange, a file locked behind military clearance. Its name was simple but chilling. Operation Silent Storm, year 2087. Michael frowned. What storm? He whispered to himself. His fingers shook as he tried to open it. The system denied him access. He tried again, and again. Finally, after hours of work, the file opened. What he saw made his heart stop. The first page was a warning. This document is classified. Unauthorized access will result in termination. Michael hesitated. His hands were sweaty. But curiosity was stronger than fear. He clicked forward. The screen showed an image of a burning city. He recognized the skyline. It was New York. Alien ships hovered above skyscrapers. Bright blue lights shot down into the streets. Panic filled the roads below. People were running, cars overturned, fire spreading everywhere. It looked like the end of the world. Michael's mouth went dry. He read the next line of text. The Forlax Dominion invasion. Classified level Omega. Earth response, engaged. He leaned back in his chair. His chest felt tight. Invasion. No one had ever told humanity about an invasion. The history books said nothing. The Alien Council records said nothing. Why was it hidden? Michael's thoughts raced, but before he could dig deeper, a loud click echoed through the dark library. He froze. Slowly, he turned his head. A woman stood in the shadows near the door. Her uniform was dark green, her boots heavy, and her eyes sharp as steel. Dr. Carter, she said, her voice calm but dangerous. You should not be looking at that. Michael swallowed hard. Who are you? She stepped closer, the sound of her boots echoing against the floor. Colonel Sarah Blake. United Earth Defense Command. Michael's pulse quickened. He had heard of the Defense Command, a branch of the military that rarely appeared in public. They dealt with threats that most civilians never knew about. I found a file, Michael stammered. An invasion. Why was it erased? Why does no one know? Colonel Blake's eyes narrowed. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she sighed, almost tired. Because if the galaxy knew the truth, humanity would not survive tomorrow. Michael frowned. I don't understand. She sat down across from him. Her voice dropped low, almost a whisper. The invasion happened. The Forlax came. They thought Earth was weak, a small world easy to conquer. But they were wrong. Humans fought back. Not with numbers, not with ships, but with something no other species has. Michael leaned forward. What is that? Instinct, she said. Rage. The will to fight even when there's no hope. The Forlax learned that humans are not prey. We are predators. The deadliest kind. Michael's skin prickled. He remembered the burning city in the file. The chaos. The resistance. So we won, he whispered. Blake shook her head. It's not that simple. We survived. But survival has a price. The galaxy must never know what happened here. If they learn the truth, every alien race will see us as a threat. They will unite, and they will try to destroy us before we become too strong. Michael's stomach turned. That's why you erased the records. She nodded. To protect humanity's secret. To protect our future. But Michael could not look away from the file. His heart pounded with both fear and wonder. He saw images of humans fighting back, soldiers, police, even ordinary people on the streets. A farmer standing on his land with a shotgun aimed at an alien drone. A firefighter dragging children from rubble while an alien walker burned behind him. People refusing to give up, even when the sky rained fire. Michael whispered, almost to himself, how could anyone invade a Class 15 death world? Blake stood. Her shadow stretched long across the floor. She looked at him with cold eyes. That is the question the galaxy should be asking. But the real secret, Dr. Carter, is this: someone already tried. The words echoed in the silence of the library. Michael felt his world tilt. Everything he thought he knew about history was a lie. And somewhere deep in space, the truth waited, dark, deadly, and still hidden. Dr. Michael Carter sat frozen in his chair. Colonel Sarah Blake's words still echoed in his mind, someone already tried. The quiet library no longer felt safe. Every shadow looked sharp, every sound too loud. He had uncovered something terrible, something the world was never meant to see. Colonel Blake moved closer, her eyes fixed on him. She did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her calm tone carried more weight than shouting ever could. You've seen enough, she said. Shut the file. Forget what you saw. Michael shook his head slowly. Forget? You can't expect me to forget an alien invasion. Why was it hidden? Why didn't the people know? They had the right. They had the right to live, Blake cut in. Do you think humanity would have survived if panic spread across the world? If the galaxy knew our true strength, they would destroy us before we could grow. That is why this must stay buried. Michael's hands tightened on the desk. I'm a historian. The truth matters. She leaned down, close enough for him to see the lines of exhaustion on her face. Sometimes the truth kills. And sometimes, silence saves lives. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was broken only by the hum of the old computer. Michael's screen still showed images of burning cities and alien ships. Please, he whispered. Tell me what happened. Blake studied him. Her jaw tightened, as if she were fighting with herself. Then, finally, she pulled up a chair and sat across from him. Her hands rested flat on the table. You want the truth? She asked. Michael nodded. Her voice dropped low, steady, like a soldier giving a report. It began in the summer of 2087. The sky split open over New York, Los Angeles, and Washington. The Forlax Dominion thought Earth was undefended. They thought humans were weak. They sent ships the size of skyscrapers. They fired on our cities. They expected surrender. Michael leaned forward. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. But we didn't surrender, Blake continued. We fought. Ordinary people picked up whatever they had, guns, knives, even rocks, and they fought. Farmers in Kansas shot down drones with hunting rifles. A firefighter in New York drove a burning truck into an alien walker. Children threw stones at invaders in the street. Michael whispered, why? Why would ordinary people fight soldiers from the stars? Blake's gaze hardened. Because that is what humans are. Survivors. Fighters. Every other species runs when death comes. Humans chase it, grab it by the throat, and refuse to let go. The words chilled Michael. He remembered the old saying, Earth is not a home. It is a training ground. What about the military? He asked. We fought too, Blake said. But even we were surprised. The Forlax thought they were invading prey. What they found was an apex predator disguised as prey. And predators don't bow to hunters. Her eyes narrowed as if she were looking back through time. We lost millions. Cities burned. Families were torn apart. But the Forlax lost something greater. They lost their pride. They lost their will. They learned that Earth does not break. Michael sat in silence, staring at her. He had read about wars, about human history filled with violence and blood. But hearing it now, knowing it was against alien invaders, it felt different. Bigger. So the invasion failed, he said softly. Blake's lips pressed into a thin line. The invasion failed, for them. For us, it was only the beginning. Michael's brow furrowed. What do you mean? She leaned forward, her voice like a blade. You think Earth only survived? No. We learned. We adapted. Our scientists got their hands on alien tech. And within months, we turned their weapons against them. Michael's eyes widened. We used their technology. Yes, she said. And we used it well. Too well. That is why no one must know. If the galaxy discovers what we did, they will unite and strike before we're ready. Michael felt his skin crawl. His hands shook on the table. So the government erased everything. Blake nodded. Every record. Every file. Every witness sworn to silence. The world thinks it never happened. Michael's mind spun. The burning city on his screen, the hidden war, the people who fought and died, it was all real. Erased from memory, but real. Why are you telling me this? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Blake's eyes locked on his. Because you won't stop. I can see it in you. You're like the rest of us, you need answers. And if you dig too far without guidance, you'll end up dead. Or worse. Michael swallowed hard. Worse than dead. Blake stood. Her boots echoed again as she walked toward the door. She looked back only once. Yes. There are things in the dark you don't want to wake. If you keep digging, Dr. Carter, you won't just find history, you'll find enemies still watching. The door shut behind her, leaving Michael alone with the glowing screen. His hands hovered over the keyboard, trembling. His heart screamed at him to stop. But his mind demanded more. The file waited, silent, full of secrets. And Michael Carter knew he could never walk away. The year was 2087. The sky over Earth was calm, the air warm, and people went about their lives as if nothing could touch them. Children played in the streets of New York. Farmers worked the fields in Kansas. Soldiers stood guard at bases, never imagining what was coming. And then the sky split open. It began as a strange hum, low and steady, like thunder trapped inside the clouds. People looked up, shielding their eyes from the sun. A thin line of blue light stretched across the horizon, growing wider and wider, until it tore open the heavens like paper. From that wound in the sky, ships emerged, black, sharp, and massive. They were not like anything humans had ever built. Each ship was the size of a skyscraper, glowing with alien energy. They hovered over cities, silent and heavy, like predators ready to strike. In New York, thousands of people froze in the streets, staring at the impossible sight. Some pulled out phones to record. Others whispered prayers. And then the silence ended. The first blast came without warning. A beam of burning light shot down from one of the alien ships and ripped through a skyscraper. Glass exploded. Steel bent like paper. The building collapsed in a storm of fire and dust. The city screamed. In Los Angeles, traffic stopped as alien drones poured into the sky. Sleek and silver, they dove down and fired beams into cars and houses. In Washington, soldiers rushed to form defenses, but the alien warships moved faster than anything human eyes could follow. The Forlax Dominion had arrived. They expected fear. They expected surrender. On countless worlds before Earth, they had crushed entire civilizations within hours. Weak races always bent their knees, begging for mercy. But Earth was different. The first spark of resistance came not from soldiers, but from a single man. In Kansas, farmer Robert Hayes watched as a drone flew low over his fields, scanning with bright blue lights. He didn't run. He grabbed his old hunting rifle, loaded a single round, and aimed at the sky. His shot cracked through the silence, and against all logic, the drone spiraled and crashed into the dirt. The aliens ignored it at first. One drone lost meant nothing. But Robert Hayes wasn't alone. In New York, firefighter James Walker dragged children out of a burning building. When an alien walker rolled down the street on metal legs, James didn't run. He climbed back into his fire truck, slammed the gas pedal, and drove the massive vehicle straight into the alien machine. The collision exploded in flames, taking the walker down with him. The people who watched never forgot his name. In Chicago, police officers formed barricades with patrol cars. In Los Angeles, gangs that once fought each other joined together to fire at drones with stolen weapons. In Washington, veterans who thought their war days were over picked up rifles again. Everywhere, humans fought back. Not with advanced weapons, but with whatever they had. Rocks. Knives. Gasoline bombs. Humanity's instinct was simple: do not surrender. Inside one of the Forlax ships, Commander Arthur watched the chaos unfold. His black eyes narrowed as he read the reports streaming in. Casualties higher than expected. Resistance fiercer than predicted. These creatures are unstable, his second-in-command hissed. They fight like cornered beasts. Arthur slammed a clawed fist against the console. No. Beasts run when cornered. These creatures, they attack. Back on Earth, the military finally moved. Fighter jets roared into the sky, missiles locking onto alien drones. Some missiles failed. The Forlax shields were powerful. But some broke through. Alien ships exploded in fire, raining metal onto the streets below. At Fort Bragg, soldiers armed tanks and artillery. They fired into the sky, filling the horizon with smoke and flame. The Forlax pressed harder, sending waves of drones and walkers. But every step they took was met with blood and fury. Michael Carter had only seen these images in files, but living through them in memory was like being there. People screaming, fire spreading, the sky alive with war. Humanity should have broken that day. But instead, something strange happened. The more the Forlax pushed, the harder humans fought. Fear did not freeze them, it fueled them. Loss did not weaken them, it sharpened them. For every building that fell, 10 more humans rose from the rubble, weapons in hand, eyes burning with rage. By the third day, the Forlax realized Earth was not like other worlds. They had come expecting prey. What they found was something they had no word for. Something far worse. The report from one Forlax officer said it best. These humans, they do not fear death. They embrace it. They fight as if pain is fuel, and defeat is only a challenge. They are not prey. They are predators. The invasion had begun, but the galaxy had yet to learn the truth. Earth was not a world to conquer. Earth was a nightmare waiting for anyone foolish enough to enter. The first 3 days of invasion had been chaos. Cities burned. Families were torn apart. Millions died. The Forlax Dominion believed it was only a matter of time before humanity broke, like every other race before them. But on the fourth day, something changed. The world stopped being afraid. From the ruins of New York to the deserts of Arizona, a new sound rose above the screams, battle cries. Humans had lost fear, and in its place came something far more dangerous, rage. In New York, survivors carried the body of firefighter James Walker from the wreckage. His sacrifice had become a story whispered across the city. People repeated it to one another like a vow. He drove his truck into a walker, he took it down himself. His courage spread like fire. By the next day, hundreds of civilians armed themselves with anything they could find. Molotov cocktails, broken pipes, even kitchen knives. They hunted alien drones through alleys and rooftops like wolves cornering prey. In Los Angeles, gangs that once fought each other now fought side by side. Rival leaders stood on the same rooftop, rifles aimed at the sky. They shouted to the people below, "The city is ours. No alien will take it." Their bullets filled the air, tearing drones from the sky. For the first time, the 4 lakhs were forced to retreat from city blocks. In Washington, the U.S. military regrouped. Tanks rolled through ruined streets, firing shells into alien walkers. Soldiers who thought they were hopelessly outgunned began to see cracks in the enemy's armor. A single well-aimed missile could bring down a ship. A grenade thrown into the right joint could cripple a walker. The impossible was no longer impossible. Across the world, humanity began to strike back. One of the most famous moments came from Chicago. A police sergeant named David Miller refused to abandon his station, even as alien fire tore the city apart. With only 20 officers left, he turned the police station into a fortress. They fought for 7 days straight, holding the line against wave after wave of drones. Locals called it the last precinct. When relief finally arrived, Sergeant Miller and his officers were still alive, still standing, surrounded by piles of alien wreckage. The 4 lakhs were stunned. Reports poured into Commander Arthol's flagship. Casualties rising. Cities not falling. Resistance spreading. "These creatures do not break," hissed one officer. Arthol's claws tapped against the console, his black eyes narrowing. "No, they adapt." The truth was clear now. Earth was not like other worlds. The 4 lakhs were used to prey peaceful species that lived in safety. But Earth was a crucible. A death world. Every storm, every predator, every hardship had forged humanity into something brutal. Their entire history was one long training ground for war. By the second week of invasion, the 4 lakhs were facing more than soldiers. They were facing humanity itself. Families built barricades in their neighborhoods. Farmers strapped explosives to tractors and drove them into alien camps. Students turned chemistry labs into makeshift weapon factories. Children carried messages through war zones, dodging drones with fearless speed. And for every human that fell, 10 more rose with fury in their eyes. At Fort Bragg, Colonel Sarah Blake's ancestor, General Thomas Blake, gave a speech that was later burned into human memory. Standing before soldiers and civilians alike, his voice thundered through the ruined base. "They think we are weak. They think we are prey. But we are hunters. We are children of storms, fire, and blood. If they want a war, then let's show them the meaning of war." The roar of thousands answered him, and from that moment, the invasion turned. The U.S. military launched coordinated strikes. Jets screamed into the skies, armed not just with human missiles but with captured 4 lakhs energy weapons. Engineers worked day and night to understand alien tech, and somehow, impossibly, they made it work. Tanks rolled with hybrid cannons, firing blasts of plasma alongside shells. Helicopters dropped soldiers carrying scavenged alien rifles. The 4 lakhs could not believe it. "Impossible," one alien officer growled. "They reverse-engineered our weapons in days. Entire empires took centuries." But it was true. Humanity had stolen fire from the gods, and now they were using it with deadly precision. Commander Arthel watched as another report flashed across his screen. Drone units in Chicago destroyed. Civilian uprisings in Los Angeles. Washington still holding. Casualties unacceptable. Arthel's black eyes burned with rage. This world is not prey. It is a trap. And we walked into it. On Earth, fires still burned, but hope now burned brighter. Survivors whispered words to each other, not with fear, but with pride. We fight. We don't stop. We don't kneel. By the end of the month, the Forlax invasion was no longer a campaign of conquest. It was survival for them. And the galaxy, watching in silence, did not yet know that the deadliest secret of all was being born. Humanity was not just surviving the invasion. They were learning how to win. Commander Arthel of the Forlax Dominion stood in the dark command chamber of his flagship. The room pulsed with cold blue light from alien screens, each one showing scenes of Earth. Fires burned in cities. Drones lay shattered in streets. Human soldiers marched forward through ruins with weapons in hand. Reports flooded in, each one worse than the last. New York resistance still growing. Chicago station lost to civilians. Washington defenses holding firm. Civilian uprisings spreading across Europe and Asia. Arthel's claws dug into the metal table. This world was supposed to be easy, he hissed. Where others surrendered, these creatures fight. His second-in-command bowed his head, fear in his voice. They are not prey, Commander. They are something else. For the first time, the Forlax Dominion felt fear. The humans were supposed to be fragile. Their world was too violent, too unstable. The Dominion expected them to break like glass. But instead, Earth had become a nightmare. In the ruined streets of Los Angeles, a Forlax patrol crept through smoke and fire. Their long metal legs carried them silently between collapsed buildings. Their scanners searched for life signs. Suddenly, a bottle smashed at their feet. Fire erupted, wrapping the patrol in flames. Humans leapt from the shadows, screaming with rage. They had no armor, no advanced weapons, only homemade explosives and stolen rifles. But they struck like wolves. Within minutes, the patrol was gone, burned and broken. One alien survivor crawled back to his ship, his black eyes wide with terror. His last words before death were recorded in his report. They wait for us in the dark. They hunt us. Even without weapons, they fight with teeth, with nails, with fire. They do not fear death. They welcome it if it means taking one of us with them. The report spread through the Dominion ranks like poison. Soldiers began to whisper a word that had no translation in human tongue. It meant death hunters. In Washington, the U.S. military pushed forward with hybrid weapons, half human, half alien. Plasma cannons lit up the sky, shredding Forlax drones. Soldiers cheered, but the true shock was not in their weapons. It was in their spirit. An alien officer recorded in horror. They do not fight for survival alone. They fight with joy. Their eyes burn when they charge. Even the wounded crawl forward to strike at us. They are relentless. The Forlax had crushed countless species. None had ever fought like this. Most begged for mercy. The humans gave no mercy, and they asked for none. Commander Arthel read each report with growing dread. He remembered one line above all. We thought them prey. They are predators. His officers stood silent, afraid to speak. Finally, Arthel broke the silence. This world, it is cursed. It breeds monsters. Even its storms and beasts forged these humans into killers. Another officer whispered, it is a Class 15 death world. Perhaps the records were true. Arthel's claws tightened. Class 15? There is no such thing. No world can be ranked so high. But deep inside, he knew. The evidence was all around him. Earth was not just dangerous, it was the most dangerous. On the ground, the nightmare only grew worse for the Forlax. In Chicago, Sergeant David Miller's last precinct became legendary. Hundreds of civilians rallied behind him, turning the police station into a fortress. The Forlax attacked again and again, but the humans refused to fall. One soldier wrote in his dying breath, "We killed them in hundreds. Still they came. Still they screamed. Still they fought." In Kansas, farmer Robert Hayes had become a symbol of defiance. When Forlax walkers rolled across his land, he set traps with dynamite buried beneath the soil. Entire machines vanished in fire. He stood on the smoking earth with his shotgun, fearless as the sky burned. The Forlax dominion was used to winning wars in days. But weeks passed, and Earth still stood. Every day they fought humans, their own fear grew stronger. Soldiers looked over their shoulders, certain humans were watching from the shadows. And humans were. Hunters became the hunted. Forlax patrols vanished without a trace. Entire squads walked into ruined neighborhoods and never returned. Only their shattered armor was found, and sometimes not even that. One terrified alien officer wrote, "They stalk us. They move in silence. We cannot see them until it is too late. Even in the dark, their eyes burn like fire. I fear the night. I fear this planet." Commander Arthur finally understood. Earth was not a mistake. Earth was a warning. A trap set by the galaxy itself. He spoke to his officers, his voice low and heavy with dread. "We did not invade a world. We invaded a weapon. And that weapon calls itself humanity." In the quiet halls of Chicago University decades later, Dr. Michael Carter read these reports with shaking hands. His stomach turned. His chest tightened. The words were simple, but the meaning was terrifying. The Forlax Dominion had seen the truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator that the galaxy feared. And if the galaxy ever learned this secret, war would come again. The Forlax Dominion believed Earth would fall in weeks. But by the second month, something impossible began to happen. Humanity stopped just surviving. Humanity started winning. It began with captured weapons. On the smoking streets of New York, a squad of U.S. Marines recovered a Forlax plasma rifle from the ruins of a drone. The weapon was alien smooth metal, glowing with strange energy. At first, no one knew how to fire it. But within hours, a young engineer named Daniel Ross had figured it out. He grinned as the weapon hummed in his hands. "It's just like rewiring a generator," he said. He pulled the trigger, and a burst of blue fire melted a hole clean through an abandoned truck. The Marines cheered. For the first time, they had firepower equal to the invaders. The news spread like wildfire. Soldiers brought back every alien weapon they could find. Engineers, mechanics, even students began pulling them apart, studying them, and rebuilding them with human tools. Within days, humans who had never seen alien technology were carrying plasma rifles into battle. At Fort Bragg, General Thomas Blake led the charge. His voice boomed across the base as he showed his soldiers the first hybrid tank, an American M1 Abrams with its cannon replaced by a Forlax plasma launcher. "This is what happens when you fight humans," Blake roared. "You give us your weapons, and we use them against you." The soldiers cheered as the tank rolled forward, firing blasts of plasma that tore alien walkers apart. The Forlax commanders could not believe it. Reports filled their screens. Humans adapting weapons at alarming speed. Hybrid vehicles sighted in combat. Casualties rising. Resistance growing. One officer hissed, "It is not possible." Entire empires took centuries to master plasma technology. These humans, they learn in hours. Commander Arthur's claws scraped the table. "No. They do not learn. They steal. They twist. They adapt like predators. Every tool becomes a weapon in their hands. In Chicago, Sergeant David Miller's last precinct became more than a fortress. It became a workshop. Officers and civilians stripped drones for parts, attaching alien weapons to their cars and trucks. They called them Frankenstein machines. Rusted vehicles roared down streets, spitting plasma fire while civilians leaned out the windows with rifles. One alien patrol was caught in an ambush. The report said simply, "We were surrounded by their machines. They screamed like wild beasts, engines roaring, weapons glowing. They came from every street, every rooftop. It was not a battle. It was a hunt. And we were the prey." By the third month, the US military was no longer on defense. Strikes were launched against Forlax positions. Fighter jets carried missiles tipped with alien energy cores. Helicopters dropped troops armed with scavenged rifles. Tanks and artillery fired both shells and plasma, shaking the skies. The Forlax had expected to crush humans in days. Instead, they now fought for every inch of ground. In Washington, President Harris gave a broadcast to the entire world. Her face was tired, but her eyes burned with pride. "We were supposed to fall," she said. "But humanity does not fall. We rise. They came to break us, but we are breaking them. Every street, every city, every hand that fights this is our Earth. And we will never give it up." The speech was carried through ruined radios, scratched televisions, and even whispered word of mouth. Across the planet, survivors lifted their heads higher. Soldiers fought harder. Children who had once cried now clenched their fists in silent defiance. Inside his flagship, Commander Arthur felt something he had never known before: doubt. He stared at the latest reports. Drone casualties critical. Civilian resistance spreading beyond cities. Hybrid weapons effective against warships. He turned to his officers, his voice low. "We came to conquer. Now we bleed. This is no invasion. This is a trap." One officer whispered, "What kind of species can do this?" Arthur's black eyes narrowed. "A Deathworld species." On the ground, the nightmare for the Forlax grew worse. Hunters stalked them in forests, farmers built traps in fields. In cities, humans turned sewers and subways into war zones. Every battle became bloodier. The humans no longer fought like prey defending their homes. They fought like predators protecting their territory. Their rage grew sharper with every loss, every death. A Forlax officer's final report was found on a destroyed ship. "They fight without fear. They fight without end. Even in defeat, they find victory. We came to claim their world. Instead, it claims us." Dr. Michael Carter leaned back from the file in shock. He had read wars, he had studied battles, but nothing compared to this. Humanity had not only survived the invasion. They had turned it into something more. Colonel Sarah Blake's words echoed in his mind: "We learned. We adapted. We became stronger." Michael's hands trembled as he whispered to himself, "We didn't just fight them off. We grew from it." And somewhere deep in space, the Forlax Dominion finally realized the truth. They had not invaded Earth. They had awakened it. Dr. Michael Carter sat in the silent library, his screen glowing with reports of fire and war. His hands shook as he scrolled further down the classified file. Colonel Sarah Blake had told him to stop. But curiosity was stronger than fear. He needed to know the full truth. And then, buried deep in the records, he found something he never expected. The invasion did not end on Earth. The file shifted from battle reports to something far stranger: maps of the solar system, marked with red symbols. Forlax ships, fleeing Earth. Human fleets, chasing them. Michael blinked, his chest tightening. "No, it can't be." He read the words again and again. "Operation Silent Storm, Counter-offensive initiated. The Forlax Dominion hadn't retreated on their own. Humanity had chased them. The record described it in chilling detail. After months of brutal fighting, the Forlax began pulling back, leaving burning cities behind. They expected humans to collapse, too weak to follow. But they were wrong. In secret bases across Earth, engineers had rebuilt alien ships. Broken hulls were patched with steel, cracked engines rewired with human hands. The first human-crewed alien hybrid ships were born in silence, hidden from the world. One was called the Resolute, built from the shattered remains of a Forlax warship that had crashed near Washington. Inside, American pilots trained day and night, learning controls that no human had ever touched before. Somehow, impossibly, they made it work. When the Forlax began retreating, the Resolute followed. And it was not alone. Across the world, scavenged fleets rose from the ashes. Crude, unstable, half-human, half-alien ships lifted from deserts, forests, and ruined cities. They wobbled in the air, powered by technology humans barely understood. But once they reached space, they flew like predators tasting freedom. The file told the story of humanity's first step into the stars. Not as explorers. Not as diplomats. As hunters. Forlax ships retreated to the asteroid belt, believing Earthlings would never dare follow. But the first hybrid fleet arrived days later. Plasma fire lit up the dark between worlds. The Resolute and her sister ships tore into the alien fleet with savage fury. A Forlax commander's log described the moment. "We thought we escaped. But they came for us. Their ships screamed with engines they should not understand. Their weapons fired with stolen power. And their pilots fought like demons. They did not pursue us for victory. They pursued us for revenge." Michael's breath caught in his throat. His heart pounded as he realized what it meant. Humanity hadn't just survived an invasion, they had invaded back. On Earth, the world never knew. Governments buried the truth. Survivors were told the Forlax fled in defeat. No one spoke of the fleets that left Earth, no one admitted what had been built from alien wreckage. Colonel Sarah Blake's family records appeared in the file. Her grandfather, General Thomas Blake, had commanded one of those hidden fleets. His final message was short, but chilling. "We cannot let the galaxy know. If they discover we struck back, they will unite to destroy us. This secret must remain buried. Humanity's survival depends on silence." Michael leaned back, his chest tight. His whole life he had believed humans were still children compared to the galaxy, small, weak, still learning. But the truth was different. Earth had tasted war among the stars. And Earth had won. Another section of the file opened automatically, showing fragments of Forlax transmissions. Desperate, broken, terrified. "We came to conquer, now we flee. They follow. They will not stop. This species is unholy." One final message chilled Michael to the core. They are not a race. They are a weapon. A living weapon born from a world of death. If they leave their world, the galaxy will burn. Michael sat frozen. His mind spun. The invasion wasn't the whole story. The real secret, the deadliest secret, was that humanity had already taken its first steps into galactic war, decades before the galaxy thought they were ready. And no one knew. The library door creaked open. Michael snapped his head up. Colonel Sarah Blake stood there, her face hidden in shadow. "I told you not to dig," she said. Her voice was cold, but not angry. More like tired. Michael's throat was dry. "We chased them, didn't we? We didn't just fight them here. We hunted them into space." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she gave a slow nod. "Yes," she whispered. "And we won. That's why the secret must never leave that screen. If the galaxy ever learns the truth, if they find out that humans already tasted blood among the stars, she shook her head. They will not wait. They will come for us. All of them. Together. Michael's chest tightened. He whispered the words he had read again and again in the reports. They called us a weapon. Blake's eyes met his. Cold. Sharp. Unforgiving. They were right. The room fell silent, the glow of the screen flickering against Michael's pale face. He knew the truth now. Humanity wasn't just the survivor of an invasion. Humanity was the hidden predator of the galaxy. And if that truth escaped, the galaxy would never sleep again. Far across the stars, in the shining halls of the Galactic Council, alien leaders gathered in silence. Their worlds were peaceful, their species calm and soft. Most had never seen war. They traded goods, debated laws, and lived under the illusion that the galaxy was safe. But whispers had begun to spread. The Forlax Dominion had returned from Earth defeated. Entire fleets lost. Commanders missing. Reports broken and incomplete. For a race that had crushed countless worlds, their silence was louder than any scream. At the council table, representatives of a dozen species sat in their jeweled robes, eyes flicking nervously. A tall insectoid named Kirith tapped his claws on the table. The Forlax do not speak of Earth. But we have heard, fragments. Rumors. A scaled reptilian, Counselor Thrn, hissed low. They say it is a death world. Class 15. The room trembled with gasps. No world ranks that high, another protested. It is a lie. An exaggeration. But Kirith shook his head slowly. No. The Forlax have never lied about conquest. If they are silent now, it is because the truth is worse than the rumor. At the far end of the chamber, a hollow screen flickered. A stolen Forlax transmission appeared in the air, grainy and broken. We thought them prey. They are not. They are predators. They fight without fear. They fight without end. If they ever leave their world, the galaxy will burn. The council chamber fell into dead silence. Not one alien spoke. Some lowered their heads. Others shifted in their seats, as if the very words made them sick. Finally, a small avian delegate whispered, "Predators. Intelligent predators." Kiritha's claws scraped the table. That is what they say. Thrn leaned forward, his golden eyes narrow. If it is true, we cannot allow such a race to grow. They must be contained. Watched. Controlled. The avian delegate trembled. You mean, destroyed? Thrn's voice was cold. If they ever reach the stars in force, we will have no choice. Meanwhile, whispers spread through the galaxy's common people. Traders told stories of a world where even plants were dangerous, where storms could kill in minutes, where beasts with teeth like knives hunted under blood-red skies. They called it the world of monsters. But the most terrifying rumor was not about the planet. It was about the people. Stories told of humans who fought with bare hands against armored soldiers. Humans who smiled as they died, dragging enemies down with them. Humans who tore apart alien machines and rebuilt them in days. Some races laughed at the stories. Others shivered in silence. But in every starport, in every market, the whispers grew louder. The humans are coming. Back on Earth, Dr. Michael Carter read the reports of these whispers with wide eyes. He could almost hear the voices of aliens across the stars, speaking of his species in fear. Colonel Sarah Blake stood beside him, arms crossed. Now you understand. The galaxy doesn't see us as equals. They see us as a threat. That's why the truth must stay buried. Michael shook his head, disbelief heavy in his voice. They fear us because we survived. No, Blake said sharply. They fear us because of what we might become. They know we won't just survive. We'll spread. And when we spread, no one will stop us. her words chilled him more than the reports. In secret corners of the galaxy, the 4 lakh survivors whispered their own warnings. Commanders who had fled Earth refused to return. Soldiers trembled when asked about the invasion. Some even deserted, unwilling to ever face humanity again. One 4 lakhs report, intercepted by the Council, was short but damning. We invaded a nightmare. We escaped alive, but barely. If the humans follow, then we are already dead. The Council members stared at the message in silence. Finally, Kirith spoke, his voice low. Perhaps we should leave them alone. Is it not safer to let the predators remain caged on their death world? Arn slammed his claw against the table. No. Cages break. Sooner or later, they will come. And when they do, we must be ready. The decision was never written into law. No official record was made. But from that day forward, the galaxy watched Earth in secret. Probes were sent. Spies planted. Every whisper, every rumor of human growth was collected. And yet, even in fear, one truth burned in the minds of every alien who heard the stories. If the humans left their world, nothing would ever be the same again. Michael Carter closed the file slowly, his hands trembling. He looked at Colonel Blake. They already fear us. Blake's eyes were cold as steel. Good. Let them. Fear is the only thing that keeps predators alive. Michael swallowed, but in his heart, he knew something darker. Fear did not last forever. And when fear turned to desperation, the galaxy would strike. And Earth would need to be ready. The library was silent, but Dr. Michael Carter's heart thundered in his chest. The files he had read would not leave his mind. He saw the invasion, the hidden counterattack, the whispers of alien fear. He saw a truth that had been buried for decades. And now, he saw something new. At the end of the file was a folder marked only with one word, current. Michael hesitated. His finger hovered over the mouse. Part of him wanted to close everything and run. But the other part, the part that had always asked questions, forced him to click. The screen flickered. New reports filled the page. Satellite images. Radar scans. Strange signals caught by deep space telescopes. Alien probes. They weren't theories or guesses. The images were clear. Small, dark objects drifting at the edge of the solar system. Too advanced, too perfect, to be human-made. Michael leaned closer, his breath shallow. They're here, he whispered. Colonel Sarah Blake's voice came from behind him. Yes. They've been watching for years. Michael spun around. She stood in the shadows again, arms crossed, her eyes sharp. You knew, he asked, his voice shaking. I've always known, Blake said. The galaxy never forgot. They whisper about us, they fear us, but they also plan. The probes are scouts. The Council is testing us, watching if we've grown strong enough to become a threat. Michael turned back to the screen, staring at the floating shapes near Pluto's orbit. A chill spread down his spine. So, they're preparing for war. Blake didn't answer right away. She walked forward and placed a folder on the desk. It was heavy, filled with papers and sealed documents. Inside are reports from the last decade, she said. Sightings. Signals. Encounters buried before the public could learn. The invasion never ended, Dr. Carter. It only paused. And now, it's beginning again. Michael opened the folder with trembling hands. He saw images of farmers in Texas finding strange machines buried in their fields. Pilots reporting unidentified craft vanishing into the clouds. Soldiers stationed in Alaska hearing signals not of earthly origin. One report froze him in place. It was dated just 3 months ago. A deep space observatory had intercepted a transmission. The message was short, but terrifying. Deathworld 15. Must be destroyed before it grows. Michael's mouth went dry. He whispered the words to himself again and again. They're coming back. Blake nodded. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried the weight of generations. The first invasion taught them fear. The next will be different. They won't underestimate us again. This time, they will come with everything. Michael slumped back in his chair, his mind racing. Why keep this from the world? People should know. They should prepare. Blake shook her head firmly. If the public learns too soon, panic will spread. Fear will break us before the enemy even arrives. The council is watching. If we look weak, if we tear ourselves apart with fear, they will strike faster. Her voice hardened. We need to be ready in silence. We need to prepare without the galaxy knowing. That's why these files exist. That's why they're hidden. Michael stared at her, realization dawning. That's why you let me see them. For the first time, Blake gave a small nod. Yes. You're a historian. You see the patterns, the truths others ignore. You needed to know. Because when the time comes, humanity will need every mind, every voice, every will to stand. Michael turned back to the screen. The images of alien probes stared back at him like cold, unblinking eyes. Watching. Waiting. A thought burned in his mind, sharp and heavy, the galaxy already fears us. And now, they want to kill us before we grow too strong. He whispered, almost to himself, if they return, if they come with all their power. Blake's voice cut in, steady and strong. Then they'll learn the same lesson twice. Humanity doesn't break. Outside, the night sky stretched over Chicago. Stars twinkled, distant and peaceful to those who didn't know better. But to Michael, they no longer looked like points of light. They looked like eyes. Watching. Judging. Waiting to strike. The story of Earth's secret war wasn't finished. It had only been hidden. And now, with alien probes drifting closer each year, history was preparing to repeat itself. Michael Carter closed the file and looked at Blake. His voice was quiet, but firm. What do we do now? Blake's answer was simple. We prepare. Because the predators of the galaxy are coming back. And when they arrive, her eyes narrowed, cold and sharp. They'll remember why no one invades a Class 15 Deathworld twice. The library lights flickered as if the building itself felt the weight of the truth. Dr. Michael Carter sat still, the folder of secret reports spread before him. Every page told the same story, Earth's nightmare was not over. The probes at the edge of the solar system. The transmissions calling for humanity's destruction. The whispers in the Galactic Council. It all led to one truth. The second invasion was coming. Colonel Sarah Blake stood by the window, her silhouette sharp against the night sky. They're watching us, she said quietly. They're measuring our strength. Deciding when to strike. Michael looked up from the file. And when they do? Her answer was cold, steady, without fear. We fight. Just as we did before. Michael wanted to believe her, but the weight of what he had read crushed his chest. The Forlax had underestimated humans the first time. They would not make that mistake again. This time, they would come with fleets beyond number. This time, they would come ready to burn the earth to ash. He whispered, almost to himself, can we survive that? Blake turned, her eyes hard as steel. We don't have a choice. Michael scrolled further down the file. One last report appeared, stamped with the highest clearance, Omega Black. His breath caught as he read the words. It was a transmission intercepted only weeks ago. The signal was clear, repeating over and over, broadcast from deep space. Deathworld 15. Must be destroyed. Eliminate before growth. Michael's throat went dry. He whispered the words again, slower this time, like a prayer or a curse. They're coming for us. Blake nodded once. Yes. And this time, they'll come with the entire galaxy at their side. Michael's stomach twisted. He thought of children playing in the streets, families living in peace, people who had no idea that death was already on its way. He wanted to scream. He wanted to warn the world. But Blake's voice cut through his thoughts. If you speak now, panic will destroy us before they ever arrive. Fear is their weapon. Unity must be ours. Her words sank into him like iron. She was right. Humanity could not face this fight divided. Outside, thunder rumbled across Chicago. Rain streaked down the windows, a storm breaking over the city. Michael stared at the dark sky, his reflection faint in the glass. For a moment, he thought of the first invasion: burning skies, falling cities, fire raining from above. And he wondered if this storm was a warning. Blake moved closer, placing her hand on the folder of reports. My grandfather fought in the first invasion, she said softly. He knew this day would come again. That's why he ordered these files hidden. Humanity needed time to grow strong before the galaxy discovered the truth. She looked at Michael, her voice sharp again. Now you know that truth. And with it comes a choice. You can stay silent, or you can help prepare for what's coming. Michael's hands trembled, but his eyes hardened. I'll help. I can't walk away from this. For the first time, Blake allowed herself the smallest hint of a smile. Good. Because history is about to repeat itself. The clock on the library wall ticked loudly, every second echoing in Michael's ears. Each tick felt like a countdown, each moment one step closer to the inevitable. The probes at the edge of the solar system weren't waiting forever. Sooner or later, they would send word back. And when they did, fleets would come. The galaxy had made its decision. Earth was too dangerous to live. Humanity was a threat that must be destroyed before it grew beyond control. But the galaxy had forgotten one thing. Earth was a death world. Colonel Blake closed the folder and picked it up under her arm. She headed toward the door but paused, her shadow long against the floor. Without turning back, she spoke one last time. Prepare yourself, Dr. Carter. When they come, there won't be time for fear. Only for war. The door shut behind her. Michael sat alone, staring at the glowing screen. The intercepted transmission repeated in his head, over and over. Deathworld 15. Must be destroyed. Must be destroyed. He clenched his fists, his jaw tight. If the galaxy thought humanity would kneel, they were wrong. Humanity had survived storms, beasts, plagues, and fire. They had survived the first invasion. And when the second came, humanity would rise again. Because Earth was not prey. Earth was the predator. High above the planet, far beyond the clouds, a probe drifted silently in the dark. Its sensors blinked. Its signal pulsed. And somewhere deep in space, far away, an answer was forming. The storm was coming.